Yeah, to have 9 days between games, we've got to make sure and do a good balance of working on areas we need to improve in, balancing getting our players rest as they get kind of in that final push as you're going into Thanksgiving with academic responsibilities. And then getting ready, for an Eastern Illinois team that's won by 46 and 35, both on the road in their last two games. So, also, it was the first week of the high school season for both Illinois and Wisconsin. So, it's definitely a balance. And again, I think our kids have been really focused in on as we've worked on ourselves, and obviously as we've turned our attention to Eastern Illinois. There's no set model with this. And again, we want to make sure because, we get in a stretch from having one game in 8 days to having four. And almost playing every other day, and then obviously playing back-to-back in the Bahamas to try to simulate what it'll be like in the Big Ten tournament. So, excited. We have the opportunity tomorrow to have a couple in-state kids back home. Matt Ballant obviously is an outstanding coach, had a great run, at Green Bay in the state, and so hopefully, a preview of some kids that not a preview, but some kids that have played against each other growing up in high school and AAU, and then obviously a huge challenge at the end of the week to play both Ball State, who's playing great basketball right now, as well as a nationally ranked Arkansas team. So just tell us a lot about our team. First 4 games, next 4 games, obviously final 3, trying to break up the non-conference in 3 segments and prepare accordingly.
Questions? Dennis?
With that chance to focus on some things that you may have learned from the first 4, what kind of areas have you been primarily looking at that you felt needed addressing during this time?
Yeah, I think rebounding. I think there's no question. We rebounded it better against Milwaukee. We won the overall rebounding battle, but more specifically, keeping people off the offensive glass and. I think it puts you in foul trouble. It gives people confidence. You're able to watch people, get longer possessions, even with the shortening of the shot clock this year to 20. It's gotten us an opportunity to look at different lineups too. In practice with having Nia Beverly back full go. I think it's been really important to have her get more repetitions. This is the longest period of time she's gotten to practice since she's been back. Offensively, I think of understanding, how we can take advantage of however we're being played defensively. And I think we're going to see, in the next 3 games, three very different styles, maybe than we've seen in the first couple of games. But I think we've got to be good offensively, not only in transition, which I think we can have a higher percentage of our possessions in transition, but also I think our posts have played really well over the last couple of games. How do we have that balance? The guards played really well the first couple. The posts have played well in the last couple. How do we have that balance so that we're able to score from the outside as well as the inside? So and be able to put some new things in. It gives us an opportunity. From a changing defensive standpoint. I thought the press was really good against Milwaukee. In turning them over, how do we able to go from that to turning people over to score off those transition turnovers? So I think again you're trying to make sure the kids are staying sharp. We had scrimmage segments, but also continuing to add things to where we can be more successful on both sides of the ball. Adding to what we're going to run offensively, and then knowing you're going to play an Eastern Illinois team that's averaging 85 points a game. Over the last couple, have turned people over at an alarming rate with just really sound help side defense, as well as some specialty things that they do that we haven't seen yet.
Dennis?
You mentioned your posts, and Abby Leszewski's played well in spurts over her first 3 years, and now for pretty much 4 games, it seems like she's playing what you would hope all along to have seen out of her. What's the difference that you see this year in her?
Yeah, I think, as much as scoring the basketball, which she's been much more consistent, and I think not just on the block. It was great to see her. She's got a great touch from 15, 17 feet. We feel like anybody we play, she should have the opportunity to get a rim run, to get ahead of people. And I think a lot of time we judge her activity levels even more so on the other end. I think she's been really good at again, if our guards are pressuring and there's a rotation of not only being a shot blocker, but being a body there where they're turning things down, and then being a consistent rebounder. I think that's the challenge when I look at, through the first 4 games last year, she's scoring the ball better, but she's also rebounding it better. And we need that from her because collectively we're going to have to be a group that rebounds a little bit by everybody. But I think a sense of urgency too, and knowing it's her last time through. I feel like when something hasn't gone in, she's missed a shot close. She's been able to move on to the next play, and I think that's, I think Lindsay Wisdom Hilton's done a good job working with her, but also I believe that there's that when it's the last time you're doing it, there isn't going to be a tomorrow, and there's always another game right now. But I think she's got a great sense of urgency with that.
Jay?
Everybody around here wants to go to the Bahamas in November, but is there a fine line between having fun in the Bahamas and getting your business done?
No question. I don't think anybody looks at me and thinks we're going to the Bahamas so I can work on my tan. So it just means I watch film in a different room in a different hotel. But, I think you want to make sure that the kids are at their best. And, that's where you count on your seniors. And you sit down and you talk to them about what the schedule allows for. And I think just like their experience here at obviously a university that offers so many different things to be able to do, it just happens to be in a lot warmer weather and maybe a little different, food options that they'll have. So I think when you do these, and obviously we've done Nashville, we've done Las Vegas, we've done Washington, D.C. We don't have that same weather variable that you have, but I think knowing you have to be careful and not just turn it into a pro mentality as well. You have to remember they are 18 to 22 years old, and I think we have some families going, which is always a huge reason why we do something like this, to be able to spend Thanksgiving with, players having their families there. I think that gives them a comfort level. I think I'm not going to have to talk a lot about, I think, the chip on their shoulder to play Arkansas just because of the result from last year in the championship game in Nashville. But no, sometimes this is where some of the things coming from the seniors have a lot more positive impact to the underclassmen than it does necessarily the coaches always handing it down.